5 Stoic Steps to Kill Lust Forever. There is a battle taking place inside millions of minds every single day. It is silent. No one sees it. No one talks about it openly. Yet it has destroyed focus, weakened discipline, ruined potential, and kept countless people from becoming the person they were meant to be. The strange part is that most people do not even realize they are losing this battle until years have already passed. Have you ever promised yourself that you would stop giving in to certain urges, only to find yourself repeating the same pattern again? Have you ever wondered why a few moments of temptation can overpower hours of motivation? Have you ever asked yourself why some people seem to possess incredible self-control while others remain trapped in an endless cycle of desire and regret? The answer may surprise you. The ancient Stoics discovered something that modern society often ignores. They understood that the greatest enemy is not outside of us. It is not another person. It is not our circumstances. It is not our environment. The greatest enemy is the part of the mind that constantly seeks immediate pleasure at the expense of long-term happiness. Most people spend their lives trying to change the world around them. Stoicism teaches us to focus on something far more powerful, the ability to govern our own thoughts, emotions, and actions. When you learn to master your mind, you gain a level of freedom that no external circumstance can take away. Lust is one of the strongest forces that challenge this freedom. It can appear suddenly and seem overwhelming. It can distract you from your goals, steal your attention, drain your energy, and leave you feeling frustrated with yourself. Many people believe the solution is simply to resist harder, but the Stoics understood that lasting victory comes from understanding the nature of desire itself. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca all taught that true strength is not measured by physical power. It is measured by the ability to remain in command of yourself when temptation appears. Anyone can feel motivated when life is easy. Anyone can stay disciplined when there are no distractions. The real test of character comes when desire whispers in your ear and asks you to abandon your principles for temporary pleasure. What makes this lesson so important is that lust is not only about physical desire. It represents a larger problem. It represents the habit of allowing impulses to control decisions. It represents choosing short-term comfort over long-term growth. It represents surrendering control of your mind to emotions that were never meant to lead your life. The Stoics believed that every person has two selves. One self seeks comfort, pleasure, and immediate gratification. The other self seeks wisdom, discipline, and excellence. Every day these two forces compete for control. Every choice you make strengthens one and weakens the other. The good news is that self-control is not something you are born with. It is something you build. It is a skill. It is a discipline. It is a habit that grows stronger every time you choose reason over impulse. In this video, we will explore 5 powerful Stoic steps that can help you overcome destructive lust, strengthen your mental discipline, and take back control of your thoughts. These are not quick fixes. They are not empty motivational slogans. They are timeless principles that have helped people master themselves for centuries. If you are ready to develop a stronger mind, a calmer spirit, and a level of self-control that separates you from the crowd, then stay with me until the end of this video. And if you enjoy content that helps you build mental toughness, wisdom, and resilience, make sure you subscribe to Unshaken Mind and turn on notifications so you never miss future lessons designed to help you become the strongest version of yourself. Now let us begin with the first Stoic step, a lesson that can completely change how you see temptation forever. Step 1. Stop calling the urge powerful. The first Stoic step to overcoming lust is simple, yet incredibly powerful. Stop calling the urge powerful. At first, this may sound strange. After all, many people feel that their urges are powerful. They feel intense. They feel overwhelming. They feel impossible to ignore. But the Stoics would argue that much of the urge's power comes from the meaning we give it. Think carefully about this. The moment an urge appears, what is the first thing most people do? They become afraid of it. They immediately think, "Here we go again." They tell themselves, "This is too strong." They say, "I don't think I can resist." Without realizing it, they have already surrendered before the battle even begins. The Stoics understood a fundamental truth about the human mind. Events themselves do not control us. Our judgment about those events control us. An urge is simply a sensation. It is a collection of thoughts, feelings, and physical reactions passing through your body. It is not a command. It is not an order. It is not a prophecy. It is not destiny. It is merely an experience. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is strong. The rain is heavy. But the storm cannot force you to walk in a particular direction. The storm exists around you. Your choices still belong to you. Urges work in the same way. They can create pressure. They can create discomfort. They can create temptation. But they cannot make decisions on your behalf. The problem begins when we confuse pressure with power. Many people experience an urge and immediately assume they must obey it. The Stoics rejected this belief completely. Epictetus taught that human beings always possess the ability to choose their response. No matter how intense the feeling becomes, there is always a space between the feeling and the action. Within that space lies your freedom. Most people never notice this space because they react automatically. The urge appears. The habit follows. The decision happens without conscious thought. But when you begin practicing Stoic awareness, something remarkable happens. You start noticing the gap. You start observing the urge instead of becoming the urge. You begin to realize that there are actually two different versions of yourself present in that moment. One part experiences the desire. The other part watches the desire. The observing mind is where your true power exists. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to stand apart from his impulses and examine them objectively. He understood that emotions become dangerous when they control the mind. But they lose much of their power when they become objects of observation. The next time temptation appears, try a simple exercise. Do not fight the urge immediately. Do not panic. Do not become frustrated. Instead, observe it like a scientist. Notice how it feels. Notice where it appears in your body. Notice the thoughts it creates. Notice how it rises. Notice how it changes. Notice how it eventually begins to weaken. This exercise reveals something most people never realize. Urges are temporary. They do not last forever. They rise and fall like waves in the ocean. No wave lasts forever. No storm lasts forever. No urge lasts forever. Yet many people act as though an urge is permanent. The Stoics knew better. They understood that patience is one of the most powerful forms of self-control. Every urge has a lifespan. If you stop feeding it with attention, imagination, and emotional reaction, it eventually loses strength. Think about how fire behaves. A fire survives because it receives fuel. Remove the fuel and the fire begins to die. Lust works the same way. The fuel is your attention. The fuel is your imagination. The fuel is the mental stories you tell yourself. The more you focus on the temptation, the stronger it becomes. The more you observe it calmly without feeding it, the weaker it becomes. This is why Stoic self-control is not based on suppression. It is based on understanding. The Stoics did not teach people to hate their desires. They taught people to understand them. When you understand something, you stop fearing it. When you stop fearing it, you stop empowering it. When you stop empowering it, you regain control. Over time, this practice creates tremendous mental strength. You begin to realize that you are not your urges. You are not your impulses. You are not your passing thoughts. You are the conscious mind capable of choosing which thoughts deserve action and which thoughts deserve dismissal. This realization changes everything. Because once you stop seeing yourself as a victim of temptation, you begin seeing yourself as its master. And that is where true Stoic discipline begins. If this lesson is helping you develop a stronger mindset, make sure you subscribe to Unshaken Mind. There are many more powerful Stoic principles ahead that can help you build unshakable self-control, greater confidence, and a mind that remains calm and disciplined no matter what challenges appear. Step 2. See the reality behind the fantasy, expanded. One of the greatest insights of Stoic philosophy is that human beings do not suffer because of reality. They suffer because of the stories they tell themselves about reality. This lesson is especially important when it comes to lust. Lust is powerful because it rarely presents itself honestly. It does not show you the complete picture. It shows you a carefully edited version of reality. It highlights the pleasure while hiding the consequences. It magnifies the reward while minimizing the cost. It creates an illusion so convincing that people willingly surrender their peace of mind for a few moments of gratification. The Stoics understood this danger deeply. They knew that many of the things people chase are not actually valuable. They only appear valuable because the mind has decorated them with imagination. Marcus Aurelius frequently practiced what we might call seeing things as they truly are. Whenever he found himself becoming attached to something, he would mentally strip away the glamour and examine its actual nature. This exercise is incredibly powerful because temptation survives through exaggeration. Think about it. When people are caught in a moment of lust, they are usually not responding to reality. They are responding to a fantasy created inside their own minds. The mind begins constructing images. It begins imagining pleasure. It begins focusing on excitement. It begins creating expectations. Soon, the imagination becomes more influential than reality itself. The person is no longer seeing clearly. They are seeing through the lens of desire. This is why Stoicism teaches us to challenge appearances. The next time temptation arises, pause and ask yourself a simple question. What am I actually looking at? Not what am I imagining? Not what am I hoping for? Not what am I fantasizing about? What am I actually looking at? This question forces the mind back into reality. Lust wants you to remain trapped in illusion. Wisdom pulls you back into truth. Most urges lose much of their power when they are examined honestly. That is because fantasy thrives in darkness, while truth thrives in light. The more closely you inspect temptation, the more clearly you begin to see its limitations. Consider how many times people have sacrificed important goals because of temporary desires. How many opportunities have been missed? How many relationships have been damaged? How many ambitions have been delayed? How many dreams have been abandoned? How many hours have been wasted? How many moments of regret have followed moments of indulgence? These are questions most people avoid because they are uncomfortable. But Stoicism teaches us that growth begins where comfort ends. A wise person is willing to examine uncomfortable truths because truth is always more valuable than illusion. The reality is that lust often promises far more than it delivers. It presents itself as happiness. Yet it rarely produces lasting happiness. It presents itself as satisfaction. Yet it often leaves people wanting more. It presents itself as freedom. Yet it frequently creates dependency. It presents itself as pleasure. Yet it often leaves regret behind. The Stoics understood that anything capable of controlling your decisions has become a form of slavery. Many people believe slavery only exists when someone else controls them. The Stoics saw it differently. If your emotions control you, you are not free. If your impulses control you, you are not free. If your desires dictate your actions, you are not free. True freedom begins when reason becomes stronger than temptation. This is why Stoic philosophy places such a strong emphasis on self-awareness. Before you can defeat a temptation, you must first understand it. Before you can master a desire, you must first see it clearly. And seeing it clearly requires removing the fantasy. Imagine a salesman trying to convince you to buy something worthless. He uses attractive language. He highlights all the benefits. He hides all the flaws. He makes the product seem amazing. Would you trust his sales pitch immediately? Of course not. You would investigate. You would ask questions. You would examine the facts. You would look beneath the surface. Yet many people never apply the same level of skepticism to their own desires. When lust arrives, they accept its promises without question. They believe its advertisements. They trust its claims. They follow its directions. The Stoics would tell us to do the opposite. Interrogate every desire. Challenge every impulse. Question every temptation. Ask yourself, is this truly beneficial? Will this improve my life? Will this strengthen my character? Will I be proud of this decision tomorrow? These questions act like a spotlight. And temptation rarely enjoys being examined under bright light. Another important Stoic principle is understanding the difference between pleasure and fulfillment. Modern society often treats these two things as though they are identical. They are not. Pleasure is temporary. Fulfillment is lasting. Pleasure depends on circumstances. Fulfillment comes from character. Pleasure often disappears quickly. Fulfillment grows over time. Pleasure can be purchased. Fulfillment must be earned. Many people spend years chasing pleasure while neglecting fulfillment. They move from one desire to another, one distraction to another, one craving to another. Yet they never experience genuine peace. Why? Because peace is not found in satisfying every desire. Peace is found in mastering desire. This is one of the most profound lessons of Stoicism. The goal is not to become a person who gets everything they want. The goal is to become a person who does not need everything they want. That kind of self-mastery creates a level of freedom that external pleasures can never provide. Seneca often warned that people become miserable when they constantly seek satisfaction outside themselves. The more dependent you become on external pleasures, the more vulnerable you become. Your happiness starts depending on things you cannot fully control. Your peace becomes fragile. Your emotions become unstable. Your discipline becomes weak. But when you learn to find satisfaction within your own character, something remarkable happens. You become less dependent on temptation. You become less controlled by urges. You become less vulnerable to distractions. You begin developing inner strength. And inner strength is one of the greatest defenses against lust. Think about the strongest people you know. Not physically strong. Mentally strong. They are not strong because they never experience temptation. They are strong because they do not allow temptation to dictate their behavior. They have learned to separate feeling from action. They understand that experiencing an urge does not require obeying it. This mindset changes everything. Instead of asking, "How can I get rid of this feeling?" you begin asking, "How can I respond wisely to this feeling?" That shift is powerful. Because life is not about eliminating every temptation. Life is about developing the character necessary to handle temptation correctly. The Stoics knew that we cannot always control what enters our minds. Thoughts will come. Urges will come. Desires will come. Temptations will come. But we can always control what we do next. That is where our power lies. That is where our freedom exists. That is where character is built. Every time you refuse to be deceived by fantasy, you strengthen your mind. Every time you choose reality over illusion, you strengthen your character. Every time you prioritize long-term growth over short-term gratification, you strengthen your future. These victories may seem small in the moment, but over time, they transform who you become. The disciplined person and the undisciplined person often face the same temptations. The difference is not the temptation itself. The difference is perspective. One sees temptation as an opportunity for pleasure. The other sees it as a test of character. One sees immediate gratification. The other sees long-term consequences. One follows impulse. The other follows wisdom. And this difference determines the direction of an entire life. So the next time lust tries to capture your attention, remember this Stoic lesson. Do not look at the fantasy. Look at the reality. Do not focus on what temptation promises. Focus on what it produces. Do not ask how good it feels in the moment. Ask where it leads. Because every choice has a destination. Every habit has a destination. Every action has a destination. The question is whether that destination brings you closer to the person you want to become or further away from it. The Stoics believed that wisdom begins when we stop being hypnotized by appearances and start seeing things exactly as they are. And when you learn to see clearly, many temptations lose their power before the battle even begins. If you're gaining value from this lesson, remember to subscribe to Unshaken Mind and stay until the end. The next Stoic step will reveal why purpose is one of the strongest weapons against temptation and how a meaningful life naturally weakens destructive desires. As we come to the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect on everything we have discussed today. The battle against lust is not really a battle against desire. It is a battle for control of your own mind. It is a battle between the person you are today and the person you have the potential to become. Every day, every urge, every temptation, and every difficult moment presents you with a choice. Will you allow temporary feelings to direct your life, or will you choose to be guided by reason, discipline, and purpose? The Stoics understood something that many people spend their entire lives trying to learn. Freedom is not doing whatever you feel like doing. Freedom is having the strength to choose what is right even when your emotions are pulling you in another direction. Freedom is remaining calm when temptation appears. Freedom is refusing to become a slave to impulses that change from one moment to the next. Remember the 5 Stoic steps we explored today. First, stop calling the urge powerful. The moment you stop treating temptation like an unstoppable force, you begin reclaiming your authority over it. An urge is a feeling, not a command. It can influence you, but it cannot control you unless you surrender your power. Second, learn to see the reality behind the fantasy. Lust survives through illusion. It thrives when the mind focuses on pleasure and ignores consequences. When you train yourself to see things clearly and honestly, temptation loses much of its attraction. Third, fill your life with purpose. A focused mind has little room for destructive distractions. The greater your mission becomes, the smaller your temptations appear. Purpose gives direction to your energy and protects you from wasting it. Fourth, practice voluntary discomfort. Learn to become comfortable with discomfort instead of running from it. Every time you resist an impulse, delay gratification, or choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen the mental muscles that make self-control possible. And fifth, remember that every victory begins with one moment. You do not conquer lust forever in a single day. You conquer it one decision at a time. One choice at a time. One disciplined action at a time. Small victories repeated consistently create extraordinary transformation. The truth is that no one becomes mentally strong overnight. Marcus Aurelius was not born disciplined. Seneca was not born wise. Epictetus was not born resilient. They became who they were through daily practice, constant self-reflection, and an unwavering commitment to improving themselves. The same opportunity exists for you. Every morning you wake up, you are given another chance to strengthen your character. Every challenge you face is another opportunity to prove to yourself that you are stronger than your impulses. Every temptation is another opportunity to practice self-mastery. Every difficult moment is another opportunity to become the person you were meant to be. Years from now, you will look back at the choices you make today. The habits you build today will shape the future version of yourself. The discipline you develop today will determine the quality of your life tomorrow. Do not underestimate the power of small daily improvements. A single disciplined choice may seem insignificant today. But disciplined choices repeated for weeks become habits. Habits repeated for months become character. Character repeated for years becomes destiny. This is why Stoicism remains so powerful after thousands of years. It teaches us that lasting success is not built through motivation alone. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline remains. Feelings change. Character endures. So when temptation appears tomorrow, remember this lesson. Do not fear it. Do not hate it. Do not run from it. Face it calmly. Observe it. Understand it. And then choose the path that serves your highest self rather than your temporary desires. Because every time you choose discipline over impulse, you become stronger. Every time you choose wisdom over pleasure, you become wiser. Every time you choose purpose over distraction, you move closer to the life you truly want. The strongest people in the world are not those who can control others. The strongest people are those who can control themselves. And that strength is available to anyone willing to practice it. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this video helped you in any way, take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who may need these lessons. Your support helps this channel reach more people who are searching for wisdom, discipline, and inner peace in a noisy world. And if you want more powerful Stoic teachings designed to strengthen your mind, improve your self-control, and help you build an unshakable life, make sure you subscribe to Unshaken Mind and turn on notifications so you never miss future videos. Leave a comment below and tell me, which of these 5 Stoic steps impacted you the most, and which one will you start practicing today? Until next time, protect your mind, guard your discipline, stay committed to your purpose, and remember, a person who conquers the world is impressive. But a person who conquers himself is truly unstoppable. Stay strong. Stay disciplined. Stay unshaken. See you in the next video. One day, the people who ignored you may suddenly start paying attention. The people who underestimated you may wonder how you changed so much. The people who walked away may look back and realize what they lost. But here is the surprising truth: the moment you start living for their approval, you lose your power. The moment you stop chasing validation and begin building yourself, everything changes. Most people spend years trying to be liked. They constantly seek attention, acceptance, and recognition from others. Yet the Stoics taught something completely different. They believed that true value is not created by impressing people. It is created by mastering yourself. When you become disciplined, emotionally strong, reliable, wise, and focused, you develop a presence that cannot be ignored. You become someone whose absence is felt. Not because you manipulated people into appreciating you, but because your character became rare. The reality is that people often do not recognize value until it is gone. They become accustomed to your kindness, your loyalty, your effort, and your support. They assume you will always be there. Then one day they realize what they had was uncommon. In this video, we will explore 7 powerful Stoic ways to become so valuable that people naturally respect you, appreciate you, and even regret losing you. These are not tricks. They are not psychological games. They are timeless principles that help you become the strongest version of yourself. And if you enjoy deep Stoic wisdom and practical self-improvement lessons, remember to subscribe to Unshaken Mind so you never miss future videos designed to help you build mental strength, confidence, and inner peace. Let's begin. Stoic way number 1: become emotionally independent. One of the most powerful transformations a human being can experience is learning how to become emotionally independent. This is not something that happens overnight. It is a skill developed through self-awareness, discipline, and a commitment to personal growth. Yet once you develop it, your entire life changes. Most people spend years unknowingly placing their emotional well-being in the hands of others. They feel happy when they receive attention. They feel valuable when they are praised. They feel secure when they are accepted. But the moment those things disappear, so does their sense of peace. The Stoics understood a simple but profound truth: anything that depends on other people can be taken away at any moment. Think about how much suffering comes from expecting others to constantly meet our emotional needs. We expect people to understand us perfectly. We expect them to appreciate our sacrifices. We expect them to remain loyal forever. And when reality fails to match those expectations, disappointment follows. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself that people are imperfect. They make mistakes. They change. They leave. They disappoint. They misunderstand. Therefore, building your emotional stability around other people's behavior is like building a house on unstable ground. The Stoic solution was to develop strength from within. Imagine waking up every morning knowing that your peace does not depend on who texts you, who compliments you, who supports you, or who agrees with you. Imagine reaching a point where your confidence comes from your character rather than public approval. That kind of inner freedom is rare. Most people spend their lives chasing external validation because they never learned how to validate themselves. They constantly seek confirmation that they are attractive enough, successful enough, smart enough, or important enough. Every interaction becomes a search for approval. But approval is unpredictable. Some people will appreciate you. Others will criticize you. Some will support your growth. Others will feel threatened by it. If your self-worth depends on their reactions, your emotional state will constantly rise and fall. The Stoics believed that true confidence comes from knowing you are living according to your values, regardless of what others think. This changes everything. When someone ignores you, you remain calm. When someone criticizes you unfairly, you remain composed. When someone leaves your life unexpectedly, you continue moving forward. Not because you do not care, but because your identity is no longer attached to their presence. Many people mistake emotional independence for emotional coldness. They are not the same thing. A Stoic is not someone who refuses to love others. A Stoic is someone who loves without becoming emotionally dependent. They appreciate relationships without making relationships the foundation of their happiness. They care deeply without losing themselves. They give generously without expecting constant recognition. This mindset creates extraordinary strength. Think about the individuals you admire most. Often, they are not the loudest people in the room. They are not the people constantly demanding attention. They are usually calm, grounded individuals who carry themselves with quiet confidence. There is a certain energy that comes from someone who knows their worth. They do not chase. They do not beg. They do not desperately seek validation. They simply focus on becoming better. People notice this. Whether consciously or unconsciously, people are drawn to emotional strength. Why? Because emotional strength creates security. A person who remains calm under pressure becomes a source of stability for others. A person who remains confident despite rejection becomes inspiring. A person who remains peaceful despite criticism becomes respected. The irony is that many people spend years trying to force others to value them. Yet the moment they stop chasing validation and begin focusing on self-development, their value naturally increases. The less desperate you become for approval, the more respect you often receive. This principle appears throughout life. In friendships, in relationships, in business, in leadership. People trust those who trust themselves. They respect those who respect themselves. They admire those who remain centered during chaos. Emotional independence also protects you from manipulation. Many people lose their power because they allow others to control their emotions. A single compliment can influence their decisions. A single criticism can destroy their confidence. A single rejection can make them question their worth. The Stoics warned against giving other people this level of control. Epictetus taught that no one can truly harm your inner self unless you allow them to. This does not mean painful events will never affect you. It means you always have the ability to choose your response. That choice is where your power lives. Every day presents opportunities to practice emotional independence. When someone disagrees with you, resist the urge to seek their approval. When someone misunderstands you, resist the urge to obsess over changing their opinion. When someone fails to recognize your value, continue improving yourself instead of trying to convince them. Your energy is too valuable to waste proving your worth to people who refuse to see it. Use that energy to strengthen yourself instead. Read more. Learn more. Train harder. Think deeper. Grow wiser. Become stronger. Over time, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop fearing rejection. You stop fearing criticism. You stop fearing abandonment. Because you realize that while people may come and go, your character remains. Your values remain. Your discipline remains. Your purpose remains. And when you reach that level of inner stability, you become incredibly valuable. Not because you are trying to impress anyone. Not because you are performing for attention. But because genuine strength is rare. People eventually recognize the difference between someone who needs them and someone who chooses them. The first acts from dependence. The second acts from strength. The first seeks validation. The second offers value. The first fears loss. The second trusts themselves enough to move forward regardless of the outcome. This is why emotional independence is the foundation of becoming unforgettable. When people realize that your happiness does not depend on them, they begin to see your true value. When they see that your confidence remains intact despite challenges, they respect you more. When they notice that you continue growing whether they support you or not, they understand that your strength comes from within. And that is the kind of strength that leaves a lasting impression long after you are gone. As we continue exploring these powerful Stoic principles, remember to subscribe to Unshaken Mind so you can continue building the mental toughness, self-discipline, and inner confidence needed to create a life of purpose, strength, and lasting success. Stoic way number 2, master the art of self-discipline. If emotional independence is the foundation of personal power, then self-discipline is the engine that drives it. The Stoics believed that a person's life is shaped not by what they know, not by what they intend to do, and not by what they dream about doing someday. A person's life is shaped by what they consistently do every single day. This is where most people struggle. Everyone wants success. Everyone wants confidence. Everyone wants respect. Everyone wants a better life. But very few people are willing to embrace the daily discipline required to achieve those things. Modern society often encourages comfort. It teaches people to follow their feelings. It tells them to work when they feel motivated and rest when they do not. It encourages immediate gratification instead of long-term growth. The Stoics taught the exact opposite. They understood that feelings are temporary, but character is permanent. A disciplined person does not wait for motivation. They act because they have committed themselves to a higher standard. Think about how many dreams have died because people relied on motivation. Someone feels inspired and starts exercising. A few weeks later, the excitement fades. The workouts stop. The goal disappears. Someone starts learning a new skill. At first, they are enthusiastic. But when progress becomes slow, they quit. Someone decides to improve their life. Yet the moment the journey becomes uncomfortable, they abandon the process. This pattern repeats endlessly because many people have trained themselves to obey their emotions rather than their principles. The Stoics knew that lasting success requires something stronger than motivation. It requires discipline. Discipline means doing what needs to be done even when you do not feel like doing it. It means getting out of bed when comfort tells you to stay asleep. It means continuing your work when distractions tempt you. It means remaining committed to your goals when results seem distant. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen your character. Every difficult decision becomes a training session for your mind. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to develop resilience. Every act of consistency becomes evidence that you can trust yourself. And trust in yourself is one of the most valuable things you can ever build. Many people struggle with confidence because they constantly break promises to themselves. They say they will start tomorrow. Tomorrow arrives and they delay again. They promise themselves they will work harder. Then they choose comfort instead. Eventually, they stop believing their own words. Their confidence weakens because their actions no longer support their intentions. A disciplined person creates confidence differently. They make small promises and keep them. They commit to reading and they read. They commit to training and they train. They commit to learning and they learn. Over time, these repeated actions create self-respect. Why? Because confidence is not built through positive thinking alone. Confidence is built through evidence. Every disciplined action becomes proof that you are capable of following through. This is why disciplined people often appear calm and certain. Their confidence is not based on wishful thinking. It is based on years of keeping commitments. The second person follows their discipline. 5 years later, the difference becomes enormous. The disciplined individual has accumulated thousands of small victories. Thousands of hours of practice. Thousands of moments where they chose growth over comfort. The compound effect of discipline begins to transform every area of their life. their health improves. Their knowledge expands. Their finances grow. Their confidence strengthens. Their opportunities multiply. Meanwhile, the undisciplined person wonders why nothing has changed. This is one of the greatest Stoic lessons: small actions repeated consistently create extraordinary results. Many people underestimate the power of consistency because they focus only on immediate outcomes. They do not see how today's choices are shaping tomorrow's reality. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves that every action matters. Every decision contributes to the type of person you are becoming. You are either strengthening your discipline or weakening it. You are either moving toward excellence or drifting toward mediocrity. There is no neutral direction. This understanding creates urgency. Not panic. Not anxiety. Purposeful urgency. The awareness that today's actions matter. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the limited nature of life. He reminded himself that time is precious. Every day wasted can never be recovered. This perspective fueled his discipline. He understood that life is too short to spend endlessly procrastinating. The same is true today. Every hour spent making excuses is an hour that could have been invested in growth. Every day spent avoiding responsibility is a day that could have moved you closer to your goals. Discipline helps you reclaim control over your future. It transforms intentions into results. It transforms potential into achievement. Most importantly, they contribute an example that reminds others of what is possible when a person chooses mastery over comfort. As we continue uncovering these powerful Stoic principles, make sure you subscribe to Unshaken Mind for more timeless wisdom on self-discipline, mental toughness, and personal growth. Every lesson you learn and every principle you apply brings you one step closer to becoming the strongest version of yourself. Stoic way number 3: develop knowledge that makes you irreplaceable. If emotional independence builds your inner strength and discipline builds your consistency, then knowledge builds your influence. The Stoics placed a high value on wisdom, not as something decorative or intellectual, but as something practical and life-changing. To them, wisdom was not about sounding intelligent. It was about living intelligently. Most people misunderstand knowledge. They assume knowledge is just about collecting information. They read, watch, and listen, but nothing truly changes in their behavior. The Stoics would call this empty learning. Real knowledge is different. Real knowledge transforms how you think, how you act, and how you respond to life. And this is what makes a person truly valuable. Because in life, people do not stay around you only for entertainment. They stay because you add something meaningful to their life. Think about the individuals who are remembered long after they leave a place. It is rarely because of their appearance or their popularity. It is usually because of the value they contributed through their mind, their ideas, and their guidance. A person with wisdom becomes difficult to replace because they offer clarity in a world full of confusion. The Stoics believed that the mind is something that must be trained deliberately, just like the body. If you do not train your mind, it weakens. If you do not challenge your thinking, it becomes shallow. If you do not expand your perspective, it becomes limited. And a limited mind creates a limited life. Now imagine two people. The first person spends most of their time consuming distractions. Social media, entertainment, gossip, and instant gratification fill their days. They rarely reflect. They rarely learn deeply. They rarely question their habits. The second person takes a different path. They read books that challenge their thinking. They study human behavior. They learn communication skills. They develop emotional intelligence. They explore philosophy, psychology, finance, and self-mastery. At first, the difference seems small. But over time, it becomes massive. Because knowledge compounds. Every insight builds on the last. Every lesson strengthens understanding. Every new perspective reshapes decision-making. Eventually, the second person begins to see life differently. They no longer react impulsively. They begin to understand people better. They make wiser decisions. They solve problems more effectively. And without even trying to impress anyone, they naturally become someone others depend on. This is how value is created through knowledge. Not by trying to look smart, but by becoming genuinely useful. The Stoic philosopher Seneca emphasized that true wisdom is not about how much you know, but how well you apply what you know. Many people have access to information today, yet very few apply it consistently. That is why knowledge alone is not enough. Application is what separates wisdom from information. For example, someone may know that discipline is important, but still procrastinate daily. Someone may know that emotional control is valuable, but still react impulsively. Someone may know that self-improvement matters, but still avoid doing the work. In contrast, a wise person applies what they learn immediately. They do not just admire ideas. They practice them. And through practice, they grow. This is where real transformation happens. Every time you apply knowledge, you deepen your understanding of it. Every time you practice a principle, it becomes part of your character. This is how Stoic wisdom becomes alive. Another important aspect of knowledge is perspective. A knowledgeable person sees beyond surface-level reactions. Where others see failure, they see lessons. Where others see rejection, they see redirection. Where others see problems, they see opportunities for growth. This kind of thinking makes a person incredibly valuable in relationships, workplaces, and leadership roles. Because in difficult situations, most people panic. But the knowledgeable person brings clarity. Marcus Aurelius constantly trained himself to reframe events in a rational way. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" he asked, "What can I learn from this?" This shift in thinking is powerful, because it turns every challenge into a teacher. It removes emotional confusion and replaces it with clarity. And people are naturally drawn to clarity. When life feels chaotic, people look for someone who can help them make sense of things. The person who can remain calm and thoughtful becomes a source of guidance. That is what knowledge creates. Not arrogance. Not superiority. But usefulness. Another key truth is that knowledge increases confidence. When you understand more, you fear less. When you see patterns, you worry less. When you have perspective, you react less. This is why wise people often appear calm even in uncertain situations. They are not immune to problems. They simply understand them differently. Now consider what happens when a person like this leaves your life. They leave behind clarity. They leave behind insight. They leave behind lessons. They leave behind a way of thinking that continues to influence you. That is why people often regret losing individuals who brought wisdom into their lives. Not because of emotional attachment alone, but because of intellectual and personal growth they experienced through them. However, the Stoic path is not about becoming someone others depend on in an unhealthy way. It is about becoming someone who constantly improves themselves so that their presence naturally improves others. You do not force value. You embody it. And one of the most powerful ways to embody it is through continuous learning. The world changes constantly. New challenges emerge. New problems arise. New opportunities appear. A person who stops learning slowly becomes outdated. But a person who commits to lifelong learning remains relevant, adaptable, and valuable. This is why Stoics were lifelong students of life itself. They observed people. They reflected on experiences. They learned from failure. They studied nature. They questioned assumptions. They refined their thinking continuously. And this is exactly what you must do if you want to become someone who is difficult to replace. Not by trying to outshine others, but by becoming someone who grows endlessly. Because growth itself is attractive. Growth itself is powerful. Growth itself creates value. As you continue on this Stoic journey, remember to subscribe to Unshaken Mind so you can keep learning principles that sharpen your mind, strengthen your character, and help you build a life of meaning, discipline, and quiet strength. The more you learn, the more you grow. And the more you grow, the more valuable you become, without ever needing to chase validation from anyone. At the end of the day, most people misunderstand what it truly means to become valuable. They think it is about being noticed, being praised, or being constantly validated by others. They think value comes from attention. But attention is not value. Attention is temporary. It shifts quickly. It can be given and taken away in an instant. Real value is something deeper. It is built quietly, over time, through character, discipline, and self-awareness. It is built in the moments when no one is watching. It is built when you choose discipline instead of comfort. It is built when you choose patience instead of emotional reaction. It is built when you choose growth instead of distraction. The Stoics understood something most people still struggle with today: you cannot control how others see you, but you can control who you become. And who you become will eventually shape how others remember you. When you apply these 7 Stoic principles, something powerful begins to happen in your life. You stop living reactively. You stop chasing approval. You stop trying to prove your worth to people who are not paying attention. Instead, you start focusing on what truly matters: your mind, your habits, your purpose, and your growth. You become emotionally independent, no longer shaken by every opinion or rejection. You become disciplined, able to follow through even when motivation disappears. You become knowledgeable, able to think clearly in a confusing world. You become someone who speaks less but acts more. You learn to walk away from disrespect instead of tolerating it. You become stable in chaos and purposeful in a world full of distraction. And slowly, without forcing anything, your life begins to change. People start noticing your calmness. They start respecting your consistency. They start valuing your perspective. And sometimes, when you are no longer available in their life, they begin to realize what they took for granted. But even then, the goal is not to live for their regret. That is not the Stoic path. The goal is not to become someone people miss. The goal is to become someone who no longer needs to be validated by being missed. True strength is when your peace remains intact regardless of who stays or who leaves. True freedom is when your value does not depend on anyone's recognition. True power is when you can walk away from anything that does not align with your growth and still remain whole. So as you move forward from this video, do not just admire these ideas. Live them. Practice them. Let them shape your decisions. Let them influence your habits. Let them redefine your standards. Because knowledge without action changes nothing. But knowledge applied consistently transforms everything. And if you commit to this path of Stoic living, something incredible will happen over time. You will stop chasing people and start attracting respect. You will stop begging for validation and start building self-respect. You will stop feeling lost in the opinions of others and start standing firmly in your own identity. That is the real transformation. Not becoming someone who is admired by everyone, but becoming someone who no longer needs admiration to feel complete. Thank you for spending this time with Unshaken Mind. If this message added value to your thinking, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss future lessons on Stoicism, self-mastery, discipline, and personal growth. Keep watching, keep learning, and keep applying what you learn. Because the more you grow internally, the less the outside world can control you. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. Stay unshaken. There is a truth that most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid. It is uncomfortable, unforgiving, and impossible to escape. Every morning when you wake up, something is being silently taken from you. You cannot buy it back. You cannot negotiate for more of it. You cannot pause it. And by the time most people realize what they have lost, it is already too late. Imagine discovering years from now that the life you wanted was always within reach, but you traded it away day by day without noticing. Imagine realizing that the greatest obstacle was never a lack of talent, luck, money, or opportunity. Imagine finding out that the real enemy was hidden inside your daily habits, your excuses, and the stories you kept telling yourself. The Stoics understood this danger thousands of years ago. They warned that the greatest tragedy is not death itself. The greatest tragedy is arriving at the end of your life and realizing you never truly lived. Today, you will discover 7 brutal Stoic truths that can completely change the direction of your life if you are willing to face them honestly. Stoicism is not a philosophy designed to comfort people. It is designed to awaken them. It forces us to see reality as it is rather than how we wish it were. The lessons you are about to hear may challenge your current beliefs, but that discomfort is exactly where growth begins. If you truly want to stop wasting time and start building the life you deserve, stay with this message until the very end. If you find value in teachings that strengthen your mind, sharpen your discipline, and help you become unshakable in a chaotic world, make sure you subscribe to Unshaken Mind and become part of a community dedicated to wisdom, self-mastery, and personal growth. The first brutal truth is something most people spend their lives running from. Truth number 1: you are going to die sooner than you think. Most people behave as though life is endless. They postpone their goals. They delay their dreams. They wait for the perfect moment. They tell themselves they will start next week, next month, or next year. Yet the Stoics constantly reminded themselves of death. To many people, thinking about death sounds depressing. To a Stoic, it is liberating. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. This was not a statement of fear. It was a statement of clarity. Every day that passes is one less day available to you. Every hour wasted can never be recovered. Every opportunity ignored disappears into history forever. The reason many people procrastinate is because they secretly believe there will always be more time. They act as though life owes them another chance. But reality makes no such promise. Think about how many years have already passed. Think about how quickly childhood disappeared. Think about how quickly last year vanished. Time moves whether you pay attention or not. The Stoics understood that death gives life meaning. Without limits, there would be no urgency. Without endings, there would be no reason to act. When you remember that your days are finite, you stop arguing over meaningless issues. You stop obsessing over what strangers think. You stop delaying the important work. You begin asking better questions. If today were your last day, would this still matter? If your time was running out, would you still keep making excuses? If you knew your future was uncertain, would you still keep postponing your purpose? Most people live as though they have unlimited tomorrows. Wise people understand they only possess today. The moment you fully accept your mortality, your priorities begin to transform. You become more courageous. You become more disciplined. You become more focused. The clock is moving whether you notice it or not. The years are passing whether you are ready or not. The Stoics challenge us with a simple question. What are you doing with the time that remains? Truth number 2, nobody is coming to save you. This truth can be painful, but it can also be incredibly empowering. Many people spend years waiting for rescue. They wait for someone to motivate them. They wait for circumstances to improve. They wait for a mentor, a partner, a boss, a government, or some external force to transform their lives. But the Stoics taught radical responsibility. Your life is your responsibility. Your future is your responsibility. Your habits are your responsibility. Your growth is your responsibility. This does not mean others cannot help you. It means you must stop expecting others to do what only you can do. Too many people become trapped by dependency. They believe success will arrive when someone finally recognizes them. They believe happiness will appear when someone finally understands them. But waiting is dangerous. Every year spent waiting is another year lost. Epictetus taught that freedom begins when you stop trying to control what is outside yourself and start mastering what is within yourself. The world does not owe you discipline. The world does not owe you success. The world does not owe you confidence. These things must be built. Many people waste decades complaining about circumstances they cannot control. Meanwhile, others face the same challenges and continue moving forward. The difference is not luck. The difference is ownership. The moment you stop waiting for rescue, you become stronger. The moment you stop blaming others, you become more powerful. The moment you accept responsibility, you gain control over your future. The Stoics knew that true strength begins when excuses end. No one is coming to save you. And that is exactly why you have the power to save yourself. If this lesson is helping you see life differently, subscribe to Unshaken Mind so you never miss future teachings designed to strengthen your mindset and help you develop true Stoic resilience. Truth number 3, comfort is slowly destroying your potential. Human beings naturally seek comfort. We seek easier paths. We seek convenience. We seek immediate pleasure. Yet the Stoics warned that excessive comfort creates weakness. Modern society often encourages people to avoid discomfort at all costs. The moment something feels difficult, many people quit. The moment something becomes challenging, they search for an easier alternative. But growth has never lived inside comfort. Strength is built through resistance. Discipline is built through challenge. Character is built through adversity. Imagine a muscle that never experiences resistance. It becomes weak. The human mind operates the same way. Every time you avoid discomfort, you train yourself to become less resilient. Every time you surrender to temptation, you weaken your self-control. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you move further away from your potential. The Stoics deliberately practiced discomfort. They exposed themselves to hardship. They trained themselves to remain calm under pressure. They prepared themselves for adversity before adversity arrived. Why? Because they understood that life itself is difficult. Challenges are inevitable. Loss is inevitable. Failure is inevitable. The question is not whether hardship will come. The question is whether you will be prepared when it arrives. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it often steals your future. Discomfort feels difficult in the moment, but it often creates your future. The workout is uncomfortable. The discipline is uncomfortable. The sacrifice is uncomfortable. The growth is uncomfortable. Yet these very things create confidence, strength, and achievement. The person who constantly seeks comfort becomes fragile. The person who embraces discomfort becomes powerful. The Stoics invite us to stop asking what feels easiest and start asking what makes us stronger. Because the life you want is usually hidden behind the discomfort you keep avoiding. Truth number 4: most of your problems exist only in your mind. One of the most brutal realizations a person can have is understanding that many of the battles destroying their peace are not happening in reality. They are happening inside their own mind. The Stoics understood something that modern psychology continues to confirm today. Human beings are often harmed more by their interpretation of events than by the events themselves. Think about how much suffering is created by imagination. People worry about conversations that have not happened. They fear failures that have not occurred. They become anxious about situations that may never exist. They replay embarrassing moments from years ago as though they happened yesterday. They spend countless hours mentally fighting enemies that are not even present. Meanwhile, life continues moving forward. Epictetus taught that people are disturbed not by things themselves, but by the views they take of them. This is one of the most powerful ideas in all of Stoicism. A challenge appears. One person collapses under pressure. Another person grows stronger because of it. The situation may be identical. The difference is perspective. Many people waste years imprisoned by imaginary fears. They convince themselves they are not good enough. They convince themselves they will fail. They convince themselves others are judging them constantly. They convince themselves success belongs to everyone except them. Over time, these thoughts become invisible prisons. The tragedy is that most people never question these thoughts. They accept them as facts. The Stoics challenged this habit. Whenever a negative thought appeared, they examined it carefully. Is this true? Is there evidence for this belief? Am I reacting to reality or reacting to my imagination? These questions have the power to transform your life. Consider how many opportunities people lose because of fear. The business they never started. The skill they never learned. The relationship they never pursued. The dream they never attempted. Not because failure stopped them. Because fear stopped them before they even began. Fear often arrives disguised as logic. It whispers convincing reasons. It tells you to wait. It tells you to stay safe. It tells you to remain where you are. But behind that voice is often nothing more than uncertainty. The Stoics understood that courage does not mean feeling fearless. Courage means acting despite fear. The truth is that your mind can become either your greatest ally or your greatest enemy. If you allow negative thoughts to rule you, they will steal years from your life. If you learn to question them, challenge them, and master them, they lose their power. Many people are carrying burdens that do not actually exist. They are suffering from future problems that have never arrived. They are fighting imaginary battles. They are exhausting themselves with mental noise. The Stoic path is not about eliminating thoughts. It is about refusing to become their servant. You do not have to believe every thought that enters your mind. You do not have to obey every fear. You do not have to surrender to every emotion. You have the ability to step back, observe, and choose your response. That ability is one of the greatest forms of freedom a human being can possess. The moment you stop allowing your mind to control you and start learning to control your mind, your entire life begins to change. And that is why this truth is so brutal. Many of the obstacles holding you back are not outside you. They are inside you. And once you realize that, you can finally begin removing them. Truth number 5. The world does not care about your excuses. This truth is difficult for many people to accept. The world may sympathize with your struggles. It may understand your challenges. It may acknowledge your difficulties. But at the end of the day, results are still required. The Stoics were not interested in excuses. They were interested in action. Every person faces obstacles. Every person experiences setbacks. Every person encounters moments when life feels unfair. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, betrayals, disease, political pressure, and unimaginable responsibilities. Yet he continued showing up. He continued doing his duty. He continued moving forward. Today, many people spend more energy explaining why they cannot succeed than actually pursuing success. They become experts at justification. They explain why the timing is wrong. They explain why conditions are imperfect. They explain why circumstances are holding them back. Years pass. Nothing changes. The excuse becomes a permanent lifestyle. The Stoics recognized a dangerous truth. Excuses provide temporary comfort. Responsibility creates lasting growth. Excuses protect the ego. Responsibility develops character. Excuses make failure feel acceptable. Responsibility makes improvement possible. Every excuse sounds reasonable when you first hear it. That is why excuses are so dangerous. They feel convincing. They feel safe. They feel justified. But they quietly rob you of your future. Imagine where your life could be if every hour spent making excuses had been spent taking action. Imagine what skills you could develop. Imagine what opportunities you could create. Imagine how much stronger you could become. The truth is simple. Life rewards action. Not intentions. Not wishes. Not plans alone. Action. The Stoics believed that your focus should remain on what you can do right now. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Not when conditions improve. Right now. Every meaningful achievement begins with action. The first workout. The first page. The first business attempt. The first difficult conversation. The first uncomfortable step. Success rarely arrives through dramatic transformations. It usually arrives through small actions repeated consistently over time. The world does not need another excuse. It needs your effort, your commitment, your discipline, your willingness to continue when motivation disappears. The person who takes action imperfectly will always outperform the person waiting for perfect conditions. That is a timeless Stoic lesson. And it remains just as true today. If these teachings are helping you strengthen your mindset and build a life of purpose, subscribe to Unshaken Mind and continue your journey toward self-mastery with us. Truth number 6. Most people will never become who they could have been. This may be one of the saddest truths about human life. Every person is born with potential. Every person carries possibilities within them. Every person possesses talents, strengths, and abilities waiting to be developed. Yet most people never fully realize what they are capable of becoming. Not because they lack ability. Because they lack commitment. Potential means nothing without action. Talent means nothing without discipline. Dreams mean nothing without execution. The Stoics understood that life is not measured by intentions. It is measured by how we use the time we are given. Many people spend years imagining a better future. They imagine becoming stronger. They imagine becoming successful. They imagine becoming respected. They imagine becoming financially free. But imagination alone changes nothing. Potential is like a seed. If it is never planted, it never grows. If it is never nurtured, it never develops. If it is ignored, it dies. One of the greatest regrets people experience later in life is realizing what they could have become. Not what they achieved. What they abandoned. The version of themselves they never gave a chance to exist. The Stoics believed that every day provides an opportunity to move closer to excellence. Not perfection. Excellence. Excellence is built through daily effort. Daily discipline. Daily improvement. The tragedy is that many people underestimate the power of small progress. They want immediate results. When they do not see instant success, they quit. But greatness is rarely dramatic. It is usually quiet. It is built through thousands of unseen choices. Every day you either move closer to your highest potential or further away from it. There is no neutral direction. The question is not whether you have potential. The question is whether you are willing to develop it. The future version of yourself is waiting. The stronger version. The wiser version. The disciplined version. The successful version. That person can only emerge if you are willing to do the work today. The Stoics remind us that becoming who you are capable of being is one of the greatest responsibilities of life. Ignoring that responsibility is one of the greatest tragedies. Truth number 7: time is the most valuable thing you will ever own. Of all the truths in this video, this may be the most important. Money can be recovered. Possessions can be replaced. Opportunities can sometimes return. Time cannot. Once a day is gone, it is gone forever. Once an hour passes, it never returns. Once a year disappears, it becomes part of history. Seneca wrote extensively about this reality. He argued that people protect their money carefully but waste their time carelessly. They become angry when someone wastes a few dollars. Yet they freely surrender years of their lives to distractions, laziness, and meaningless pursuits. The Stoics saw time as life's most valuable currency. Every day is an investment. Every hour is a choice. Every moment is an opportunity. The question is simple. Where are you investing your life? Because that is exactly what you are doing. You are investing your life every single day. When you waste time repeatedly, you are not merely wasting minutes. You are wasting portions of your existence. That is why the Stoics treated time with such respect. They understood that life is not short. We simply waste much of it. The person who values time differently begins living differently. They become more intentional, more focused, more disciplined, more grateful. They stop delaying important goals. They stop postponing meaningful actions. They stop living as though they have endless tomorrows. Because they understand the truth. The future is never guaranteed. Only this moment is real. And this moment deserves your full attention. The person who masters their time ultimately masters their life. The person who wastes their time ultimately wastes their life. That is the brutal reality. And it is also the greatest opportunity. Because once you understand it, you can begin living differently starting today. As we come to the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect on the 7 brutal truths you have heard today. You're going to die sooner than you think. Nobody is coming to save you. Comfort is slowly destroying your potential. Most of your problems exist only in your mind. The world does not care about your excuses. Most people never become who they could have been. And time is the most valuable thing you will ever own. These truths are not meant to discourage you. They are meant to awaken you. The Stoics never intended philosophy to be something you simply listen to and then forget. They believed wisdom must be lived. Knowledge alone changes nothing. Transformation happens when knowledge becomes action. Right now, there are 2 versions of your future waiting ahead of you. One version continues doing what it has always done. It keeps postponing important decisions. It keeps making excuses. It keeps choosing comfort over growth. It keeps wasting precious time on things that do not matter. Day after day, month after month, year after year, life passes by. Eventually, That person looks back with regret and wonders where all the time went. The other version makes a different choice. That person understands that every day matters. That person stops waiting for perfect conditions. That person stops blaming circumstances. That person embraces discipline when it is difficult. That person acts even when motivation is absent. That person treats time as the priceless gift that it truly is. And because of those choices, their entire life changes. The difference between these two futures is not luck. It is not talent. It is not intelligence. It is not privilege. It is the decisions made every single day. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts and actions. Every day you are building your future, whether you realize it or not. Every habit is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every decision is shaping your destiny. The truth is that life moves faster than most people expect. The years pass quickly. The opportunities come and go. People enter and leave your life. Seasons change. Circumstances change. Everything changes. The only question is whether you will change with it. Do not wait for next year. Do not wait for next month. Do not wait for Monday. Do not wait for motivation. Do not wait until you feel ready. Start now. Take the first step now. Make the difficult decision now. Begin building the life you want now. Because one day, the opportunity to act will disappear forever. The Stoics understood that death gives urgency to life. It reminds us that our days are limited and therefore valuable. Every sunrise is a gift. Every day is another chance to improve yourself. Every moment is another opportunity to become stronger, wiser, calmer, and more disciplined. The person you want to become is not waiting somewhere in the future. That person is created by the choices you make today. Not tomorrow. Today. Not someday. Today. Not when conditions are perfect. Today. If there is one lesson I hope you carry with you after this video, it is this. Your life is happening right now. Not in the future. Not in your plans. Not in your dreams. Right now. Do not waste it. Do not take it for granted. Do not trade it for distractions that add no value. Use it wisely. Use it courageously. Use it intentionally. And most importantly, use it before it is gone. Thank you for spending this time with me here on Unshaken Mind. If this video helped you see life from a new perspective, make sure you support the channel by liking this video and sharing it with someone who needs to hear these Stoic truths today. And if you are committed to becoming mentally stronger, emotionally unshakable, and relentlessly disciplined, subscribe to Unshaken Mind and turn on notifications so you never miss future videos. We are building a community of people who refuse to live ordinary lives, people who choose wisdom over impulse, discipline over comfort, and purpose over distraction. Leave a comment below and tell me which of these 7 brutal Stoic truths impacted you the most. I read your comments, and they help inspire future videos for this community. Until next time, remember, your time is limited. Your potential is extraordinary. Your excuses are powerless unless you feed them. Your future is being created right now. Stand firm. Stay disciplined. Remain unshaken. And keep building the life you were meant to live. See you in the next video. What if the greatest battle of your life is not happening outside of you, but inside of you? What if the reason so many people struggle to achieve their goals, maintain healthy relationships, build wealth, develop discipline, or find lasting peace has nothing to do with their circumstances and everything to do with their inability to control their urges? Imagine possessing a level of self-control so powerful that distractions lose their grip on you, temptations no longer dictate your actions, and emotional impulses stop controlling your decisions. Imagine becoming the kind of person who remains calm when others panic, disciplined when others quit, and focused when everyone else is distracted. Most people believe freedom means doing whatever they want whenever they want. The Stoics taught the exact opposite. They believed that a person who cannot control their desires is not free at all. They are a prisoner of cravings, a prisoner of emotions, a prisoner of impulses that constantly pull them away from what truly matters. Think about how many opportunities have been lost because someone acted on an urge rather than wisdom. A moment of anger destroys a relationship. A moment of laziness delays a dream. A moment of temptation ruins years of progress. A moment of fear prevents someone from pursuing their purpose. Entire lives can be changed by decisions made in just a few seconds. The ancient Stoics understood this reality better than most people today. Living thousands of years ago, they discovered a powerful truth: the quality of your life depends largely on the quality of your self-control. They knew that mastering your urges was not about suppressing emotions or becoming emotionless. It was about learning to govern yourself so that your actions were guided by reason rather than impulse. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, spent countless hours reminding himself that external events were never the true enemy. The real challenge was maintaining control over his own mind. Despite commanding an empire, he understood that ruling himself was far more important than ruling others. Epictetus, who began life as a slave, taught that no person could truly be free if they were controlled by their desires. According to him, freedom begins the moment a person stops becoming a servant to every craving, emotion, and temptation that appears within them. Seneca warned that many people spend their lives chasing pleasure without realizing that pleasure alone can become a form of slavery. The more we depend on comfort, approval, entertainment, and instant gratification, the weaker our inner strength becomes. Today, we live in a world designed to trigger our urges. Every notification demands our attention. Every advertisement encourages desire. Every distraction competes for our focus. We are constantly surrounded by forces that encourage impulsive behavior. As a result, self-control has become one of the rarest and most valuable skills a person can possess. But here is the good news. Self-control is not something people are born with. It is something that can be trained. Just as muscles grow stronger through resistance, your ability to master your urges grows stronger every time you choose wisdom over impulse. In today's video, we will explore 10 powerful Stoic lessons that can help you gain control over your mind, strengthen your discipline, and develop the inner resilience needed to thrive in any situation. These lessons have guided philosophers, leaders, warriors, and thinkers for centuries, and they remain just as relevant today as they were in ancient Rome. By the end of this video, you may begin to see your urges in an entirely different way. Instead of viewing them as commands that must be obeyed, you will learn to see them as tests of character and opportunities for growth. And if you enjoy timeless Stoic wisdom that helps you build discipline, confidence, resilience, and mental strength, make sure you subscribe to Unshaken Mind and turn on notifications so you never miss future videos. Every week, we explore practical Stoic lessons that can help you become stronger, calmer, and more in control of your life. Now, let us begin with the first lesson, one that forms the foundation of all self-mastery. Lesson 1. Understand that urges are temporary visitors. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that every urge must be acted upon. The moment they feel angry, they lash out. The moment they feel tempted, they give in. The moment they feel bored, they seek distraction. The moment they feel uncomfortable, they look for escape. This automatic obedience to impulse is one of the primary reasons people struggle with discipline. The Stoics taught that an urge is not a command. It is merely an impression appearing within the mind. Like a wave rising in the ocean, it appears, reaches its peak, and eventually disappears. The problem is that most people act while the wave is at its strongest. Imagine standing outside during a storm. Dark clouds gather overhead. Strong winds begin to blow. Rain starts to fall. If you had never experienced weather before, you might believe the storm would last forever. But because you understand the nature of storms, you know they eventually pass. Urges work exactly the same way. When anger appears, it feels permanent. When temptation appears, it feels overwhelming. When fear appears, it feels impossible to overcome. But every urge follows the same pattern. It arrives. It grows. It fades. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself that emotions and desires were temporary events within the mind. They did not define him. What defined him was the response he chose. This distinction is incredibly important. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your cravings. You are not your impulses. These things visit your mind, but they are not your identity. Many people spend years believing they lack discipline because they experience strong urges. The Stoics would disagree. Experiencing urges is part of being human. Discipline is not the absence of temptation. Discipline is the ability to remain in control despite temptation. Consider someone trying to improve their health. They may experience the urge to eat unhealthy foods. That urge does not mean they are weak. It simply means they are human. Their strength is revealed by how they respond. Likewise, someone trying to focus on important work may feel the urge to procrastinate. Someone trying to remain calm may feel the urge to argue. Someone trying to save money may feel the urge to make impulsive purchases. The urge itself is not the problem. The automatic reaction is the problem. Epictetus taught that between an impression and an action, there is a space where reason can operate. Most people never use that space. They move directly from feeling to action. They never pause long enough to think. This is why self-awareness is so important. The next time you experience a powerful urge, do not immediately obey it. Instead, become an observer. Notice how the urge feels. Notice where it appears in your body. Notice what thoughts accompany it. Notice how it tries to convince you that immediate action is necessary. Then simply watch. You may discover something remarkable. Without feeding the urge with attention and action, its intensity begins to decrease. Like a fire deprived of fuel, it gradually loses strength. This simple practice develops enormous mental power over time. Many of history's greatest Stoics became masters of themselves because they learned to observe rather than react. They understood that freedom is not found in satisfying every impulse. Freedom is found in choosing which impulses deserve your obedience. Every time you observe an urge without immediately acting on it, you strengthen your ability to govern yourself. Every time you resist the temptation to react impulsively, you build inner strength. Every time you allow an urge to pass without controlling your behavior, you prove that your mind belongs to you. This lesson may seem simple, but it is the foundation upon which all other Stoic disciplines are built. A person who cannot observe their urges will always be controlled by them. A person who learns to observe their urges gains the power to choose their response. And that power can change the entire course of a life. If this lesson is helping you see your mind from a new perspective, subscribe to Unshaken Mind and continue this journey toward greater self-mastery. The lessons ahead will reveal even deeper Stoic strategies for overcoming temptation and developing unshakable discipline. Lesson 4: Practice voluntary discomfort. One of the most misunderstood teachings in Stoicism is the practice of voluntary discomfort. To many people, it sounds unnecessary. Why would anyone willingly choose difficulty when comfort is available? Why would someone intentionally expose themselves to inconvenience when modern life is designed to eliminate it? The Stoics understood something that many people today have forgotten. Comfort is useful, but dependence on comfort is dangerous. A person who can only function when conditions are perfect becomes fragile. They become dependent on convenience, routine, and external circumstances. The moment life becomes difficult, they lose their composure because they have never trained themselves to endure discomfort. The Stoics believed that strength comes from occasionally stepping outside the comfort zone and proving to yourself that you can handle more than you think. Seneca often practiced living with less than he could afford. Despite being wealthy, he would sometimes wear simple clothing, eat basic meals, and live with fewer comforts. He did this not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he wanted to remind himself that comfort was a privilege, not a necessity. He wanted to know that if fortune ever abandoned him, his peace of mind would remain intact. This lesson is incredibly relevant today. Many urges gain power because people have become uncomfortable with discomfort itself. The urge to quit appears because work becomes difficult. The urge to procrastinate appears because effort feels uncomfortable. The urge to seek constant entertainment appears because boredom feels uncomfortable. The urge to avoid difficult conversations appears because confrontation feels uncomfortable. The urge to abandon goals appears because progress requires sacrifice. In many cases, the real problem is not the urge itself. The real problem is our inability to tolerate discomfort. Think about physical exercise. When someone begins working out, their muscles experience resistance. There is fatigue. There is strain. There is discomfort. If they immediately stop every time discomfort appears, they never become stronger. Mental discipline works the same way. Every urge that encourages you to escape discomfort is presenting you with a choice. You can either obey the urge and remain weak, or you can endure the discomfort and become stronger. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. Despite leading an empire and carrying immense responsibilities, he continually reminded himself that hardship was part of life. He viewed challenges not as obstacles but as opportunities to strengthen his character. Modern society often encourages people to seek comfort at all costs. We are told to avoid difficulty, avoid struggle, avoid inconvenience. Yet the Stoics would argue that avoiding all discomfort ultimately makes life harder. When you never challenge yourself, even small difficulties begin to feel overwhelming. But when you regularly challenge yourself, difficulties lose their ability to intimidate you. Voluntary discomfort can take many forms. It may mean waking up earlier than necessary. It may mean exercising when you do not feel like it. It may mean putting away distractions and focusing deeply on important work. It may mean resisting unnecessary luxuries. It may mean remaining calm when emotions urge you to react. These small acts of discipline train your mind to become resilient. They teach you that discomfort is not dangerous. They teach you that you are capable of enduring more than you once believed. Most importantly, they weaken the power of urges because they remove one of their greatest weapons, the fear of discomfort. The more comfortable you become with discomfort, the less control your urges have over your decisions. You begin to realize that temporary discomfort is often the price of long-term freedom. And that realization changes everything. Lesson 5: Stop feeding what you want to defeat. Every urge survives because it is being fed. This is one of the most important truths about human behavior. Many people desperately want to eliminate certain habits from their lives. They want to stop procrastinating. They want to stop overthinking. They want to stop seeking constant validation. They want to stop wasting time. Yet despite their efforts, these behaviors continue to return. Why? Because consciously or unconsciously, they continue feeding the very things they are trying to defeat. Imagine trying to extinguish a fire while continuously throwing wood into it. No matter how badly you want the fire to disappear, your actions are ensuring that it continues burning. The same principle applies to urges. Every action either strengthens a habit or weakens it. Every choice either feeds a craving or starves it. The Stoics understood that repeated behavior creates powerful patterns within the mind. The more frequently a behavior is repeated, the more automatic it becomes. This means that every time you give in to a destructive urge, you make it slightly stronger. At the same time, every time you resist it, you weaken its influence. Most people focus only on resisting urges in the moment. The Stoics took a broader view. They asked a deeper question. What is creating the urge in the first place? For example, someone may struggle with constant distraction. They blame themselves for lacking discipline, but they continue surrounding themselves with distractions throughout the day. Someone may struggle with unhealthy eating habits, yet they constantly expose themselves to temptations. Someone may struggle with negative thinking, yet they continuously consume negative content. Someone may struggle with anger, yet they repeatedly place themselves in situations that fuel resentment. The Stoics believed wisdom requires examining the source rather than merely fighting the symptom. Marcus Aurelius often emphasized the importance of guarding the mind. He understood that what enters the mind eventually shapes the mind. Your environment influences your thoughts. Your thoughts influence your actions. Your actions influence your character. This is why controlling your environment is often easier than relying solely on willpower. If you wish to defeat a particular urge, begin by identifying what feeds it. Ask yourself honestly, what habits are strengthening this urge? What situations trigger it most often? What thoughts encourage it? What routines support it? What influences keep it alive? These questions require courage because they force you to confront uncomfortable truths. Many people discover that their greatest obstacles are not external. They are self-created. The good news is that what has been strengthened can also be weakened. When you remove the fuel, the fire begins to shrink. When you stop feeding unhealthy habits, they gradually lose their power. This process takes time. The Stoics never promised instant transformation. They understood that character is built through consistent repetition. Just as a tree grows slowly over many years, self-mastery develops through daily choices. Each time you refuse to feed a destructive urge, you strengthen your freedom. Each time you choose wisdom over impulse, you reinforce discipline. Each time you act according to reason rather than desire, you become a little stronger. Over weeks, months, and years, these small victories accumulate into profound personal transformation. And eventually, urges that once controlled your life begin to lose their influence entirely. Lesson 6: Focus on what you can control. At the heart of Stoicism lies one of the most powerful principles ever taught: focus your energy on what you can control and release your attachment to what you cannot. This lesson is simple to understand but incredibly difficult to practice. Human beings naturally want control. We want to control outcomes. We want to control other people's opinions. We want to control circumstances. We want certainty about the future. We want guarantees that everything will go according to plan. When reality refuses to cooperate, frustration appears. Anxiety appears. Anger appears. And many of the urges we struggle with are born from this frustration. People lash out because they cannot control others. People worry because they cannot control the future. People become jealous because they cannot control comparisons. People seek validation because they cannot control how others perceive them. The Stoics recognized that this struggle is endless because much of life exists beyond our control. Epictetus famously taught that some things are up to us and some things are not. Our opinions, actions, attitudes, choices, and judgments are within our control. The behavior of others, external events, reputation, outcomes, and fortune are not. This distinction changes everything. When you focus on things beyond your control, you become vulnerable to endless emotional turmoil. When you focus on what is within your control, you reclaim your power. Imagine two people facing the same setback. One spends weeks complaining about circumstances. The other focuses on what action can be taken next. One becomes trapped by frustration. The other moves forward. The difference is not the situation. The difference is focus. Many urges disappear when attention returns to what can actually be controlled. The urge to panic weakens. The urge to blame weakens. The urge to complain weakens. The urge to seek approval weakens. Why? Because these urges depend on external circumstances. The Stoic mind remains grounded in personal responsibility. Whenever you encounter a challenge, ask yourself, what part of this situation is within my control? What action can I take right now? What response aligns with my values? These questions immediately shift your attention away from helplessness and toward empowerment. Marcus Aurelius practiced this mindset constantly. Despite facing wars, political conflicts, betrayal, disease, and enormous pressures, he repeatedly returned his attention to what he could control, his own character. He understood that true strength does not come from controlling the world. It comes from controlling yourself within the world. This lesson is especially important when dealing with urges. Every urge attempts to pull your attention outward. It encourages you to chase, react, fear, or resist things beyond your influence. Stoic wisdom pulls your attention inward. It reminds you that your greatest source of power has always been your ability to choose your response. And when you fully understand that truth, many urges lose their ability to dominate your mind. If you're finding value in these Stoic lessons, remember to subscribe to Unshaken Mind so you can continue strengthening your discipline, resilience, and self-mastery with future videos. The next lessons will reveal how to transform every temptation into an opportunity for growth and become the true ruler of your own mind. Lesson 7. Train yourself to pause. One of the clearest differences between a person who is controlled by urges and a person who has mastered them is the ability to pause before reacting. That small space between feeling and action is where freedom either exists or disappears. Most people live without that space. They feel something, and they immediately act on it. Anger appears, and words come out before thought. Temptation appears, and action follows instantly. Frustration appears, and decisions are made without reflection. Over time, this creates a life that feels reactive instead of intentional. The Stoics placed enormous value on this moment of pause because they understood something simple but powerful: your first reaction is often not your best decision. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself to slow down his responses. Not because he was weak, but because he understood that a rushed mind is easily controlled by impulse. Epictetus also taught that between stimulus and response, there is a space where reason can intervene. That space is where true self-mastery lives. Training yourself to pause does not require complex techniques. It begins with awareness. The moment you notice an urge, you resist the automatic reaction. Instead, you allow a brief delay. Even a few seconds is enough to interrupt the chain of impulse. In that short pause, something important happens. The emotional intensity begins to lose some of its power. The urge that felt overwhelming becomes more manageable. You begin to see options instead of feeling trapped by reaction. For example, when anger rises in a conversation, most people immediately respond with equal or greater anger. But a Stoic response is different. There is a pause, a breath, a moment of reflection. And in that moment, the mind is given a chance to choose wisdom instead of reaction. When temptation appears, the same principle applies. Instead of immediately acting, there is a pause. That pause allows reason to question whether the action truly aligns with long-term goals. When anxiety appears, the pause allows you to separate imagination from reality. Not every thought deserves immediate belief, and not every feeling requires immediate action. Over time, this practice rewires your relationship with urges. Instead of being pulled along by them, you begin to stand slightly apart from them. You observe them first, then decide. This is why the pause is not just a habit. It is a form of power. It creates space between you and your impulses, and in that space, control returns to you. A person who masters the pause no longer lives in reaction. They live in choice. And that shift changes everything. If you are finding clarity in these lessons, continue following Unshaken Mind, because the next principles build on this foundation and take self-discipline even deeper. Lesson 8. Remember that character is greater than pleasure. One of the strongest forces that drives human behavior is the pursuit of pleasure. Comfort, enjoyment, approval, excitement, and satisfaction constantly compete for attention. Modern life amplifies this pursuit by making pleasure easier and faster to access than ever before. The Stoics did not deny pleasure, but they refused to make it the center of life. Instead, they placed character at the center of everything. Character is the accumulation of your choices over time. It is who you become when no one is watching. It is the consistency of your actions when temptation appears. It is the strength of your values when pressure increases. Pleasure, on the other hand, is temporary. It rises quickly and disappears just as fast. A moment of enjoyment can be followed by regret. A moment of indulgence can be followed by weakness. A moment of impulse can undo long-term progress. The Stoics understood that if a person consistently chooses pleasure over principle, they slowly lose control of their life. Their decisions begin to revolve around what feels good in the moment rather than what builds a strong future. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the importance of living in alignment with virtue rather than desire. He reminded himself that discomfort in the present was acceptable if it strengthened his character in the long run. Seneca also warned that people who constantly chase pleasure eventually become enslaved by it, because they must keep feeding it to remain satisfied. When an urge appears, it often presents itself as something that promises relief or reward. It says, "This will make you feel better right now." But Stoic thinking interrupts that narrative by asking a deeper question: what kind of person will I become if I follow this repeatedly? This shift in thinking is powerful because it moves the focus from momentary satisfaction to identity. For example, giving in to laziness once may feel harmless. But repeated over time, it shapes a pattern. It gradually becomes part of your character. In the same way, resisting laziness repeatedly strengthens discipline until it becomes part of who you are. Every urge presents a small crossroads. One path strengthens character. The other weakens it. The difference may seem small in the moment, but over time, these small choices determine the direction of a life. Stoicism teaches that you are not defined by what you feel, but by what you repeatedly choose. Feelings are temporary. Character is built over time. When you begin prioritizing character over pleasure, urges lose much of their authority. They no longer represent commands that must be obeyed. They become tests that reveal what you value more. And every time you choose character, you reinforce your strength. Lesson 9: View every urge as training. Most people view urges as problems. Something to fight. Something to avoid. Something to eliminate. This creates frustration because urges never fully disappear. As long as you are human, they will continue to appear in different forms. The Stoics took a radically different approach. Instead of seeing urges as enemies, they saw them as training opportunities. Every urge is a chance to practice discipline. Every temptation is a chance to strengthen control. Every emotional impulse is a chance to build resilience. This perspective changes everything. When you are exercising your body, resistance is not the enemy. Resistance is what creates strength. Without weight, there is no muscle growth. Without challenge, there is no improvement. The same principle applies to the mind. Without urges to resist, there is no discipline to develop. Marcus Aurelius often reframed difficulties as opportunities to practice virtue. If he faced anger, it became an opportunity to practice patience. If he faced injustice, it became an opportunity to practice forgiveness. If he faced temptation, it became an opportunity to practice self-control. This mindset removes the emotional resistance that often comes with urges. Instead of saying, "Why am I struggling with this?" you begin to say, "This is my training for today." A person who sees urges as enemies becomes stressed by their presence. A person who sees them as training becomes strengthened by their presence. For example, imagine someone trying to build discipline around distractions. Every time the urge to check their phone appears, instead of feeling defeated, they recognize it as a repetition in their training. Each moment of resistance is like another rep in a mental workout. Over time, this changes identity. You begin to see yourself not as someone who struggles with urges, but as someone who trains through them. This is a powerful shift because identity influences behavior. When you believe you are training, you naturally become more consistent. When you believe you are failing, you become discouraged. The Stoics were not interested in avoiding difficulty. They were interested in transforming difficulty into growth. Every urge resisted becomes proof of progress. Every temptation overcome becomes evidence of strength. Every moment of discipline reinforces the idea that you are capable of more control than you once believed. Eventually, what once felt difficult becomes natural. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. And what once felt like temptation becomes simply another opportunity to grow. Lesson 10. Become the ruler of your mind. At the highest level of Stoic practice is the goal of complete inner mastery. Not the elimination of urges, but the governance of them. Not the absence of emotion, but the ability to direct it wisely. Not the suppression of desire, but the ability to choose which desires deserve action. The Stoics believed that the mind is like a kingdom. Within that kingdom, many forces exist: emotions, thoughts, memories, desires, fears, and impulses. If these forces are left without guidance, chaos emerges. But if reason takes leadership, order is created. Becoming the ruler of your mind means no longer being ruled by whatever arises within you. It means stepping into the role of observer, judge, and decision-maker rather than passive participant. Most people live as if they are reacting to life from the inside out. Whatever thought appears becomes reality. Whatever emotion arises becomes action. Whatever urge shows up becomes behavior. In this state, the mind feels scattered and unstable. Stoicism offers a different structure. You are not the urge. You are the one who notices the urge. You are not the emotion. You are the one who evaluates the emotion. You are not the impulse. You are the one who chooses whether to act on it. Marcus Aurelius wrote often about the importance of returning to the center of the mind, the place where reason lives. He reminded himself that no external force could disturb him if he remained anchored internally. This is the essence of mental rulership. It is not about controlling the world. It is about controlling your response to the world. As you continue practicing the earlier lessons, observing urges, separating desire from necessity, delaying gratification, embracing discomfort, removing triggers, focusing on control, pausing before reacting, valuing character, and treating urges as training, you gradually build the foundation for this final stage. At this level, urges still appear, but they no longer dominate you. They no longer dictate your actions. They no longer define your direction. Instead, they become information. Signals. Experiences to be observed and evaluated. And you remain steady. This is what true freedom looks like according to Stoic philosophy. Not a life without challenges, but a mind that remains unshaken by them. A mind that is no longer a slave to impulse. A mind that belongs to you. Mastering your urges is not a destination you arrive at once and for all. It is a continuous practice that unfolds in ordinary moments, in silent decisions that no one else sees, and in the small internal battles that shape who you become over time. The Stoics understood that greatness is not built in dramatic acts, but in consistent self-mastery repeated daily. Every time you resist an impulse that would weaken your discipline, you are not just avoiding a mistake, you are reinforcing your identity. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you are not just being patient, you are reclaiming control over your mind. Every time you choose long-term growth over short-term pleasure, you are quietly shaping a stronger version of yourself. Most people underestimate how powerful these small moments are. They think change comes from one big decision, one breakthrough, or one life-altering event. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Your life is shaped by repetition. What you repeatedly tolerate becomes your standard. What you repeatedly practice becomes your character. What you repeatedly ignore becomes your weakness. So the real question is not whether urges will appear in your life, they will. The real question is whether you will continue to let them decide for you, or whether you will finally begin to decide for yourself. There will be days when you feel in control, and there will be days when you struggle. There will be moments when discipline feels natural, and moments when it feels difficult. The Stoics never expected perfection. Even Marcus Aurelius, one of the most disciplined minds in history, wrote to remind himself of principles he already knew because he understood that wisdom must be practiced repeatedly to stay alive in the mind. What matters is not that you never struggle, but that you return to your principles every time you do. Each return is progress. Each correction is strength. Each moment of awareness is a step toward mastery. Over time, something subtle begins to change. The urges that once felt overwhelming begin to lose their authority. The emotions that once controlled your reactions begin to feel more distant. The impulses that once dictated your choices begin to feel more like background noise than commands. You begin to notice a space forming between stimulus and response, and in that space, you discover freedom. This is the Stoic promise, not a life without urges, but a life where urges no longer rule you. A life where you are no longer dragged around by every emotion, craving, or fear. A life where your actions are guided by reason, clarity, and purpose. And when you reach even a small level of this mastery, everything changes. Your confidence increases because you trust yourself more. Your focus improves because distractions lose their power. Your emotional stability strengthens because you are no longer constantly reacting. Even your relationships improve because you are no longer ruled by impulsive words or actions. But this level of control is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It is something you maintain through awareness, through reflection, through discipline, through daily practice. That is why Stoicism is not just philosophy, it is training for life. So as you move forward from this video, do not treat these lessons as information to admire. Treat them as tools to apply. Start small. Notice one urge today and simply observe it. Pause before one reaction. Resist one unnecessary impulse. Choose one action that strengthens your character instead of your comfort. That is where transformation begins. If you found value in these teachings, continue your journey with unshaken mind. Subscribe, stay connected, and keep engaging with these ideas, because real change does not come from hearing wisdom once, it comes from returning to it again and again until it becomes part of who you are. And as you continue building that discipline, remember this: you are not trying to eliminate urges. You are learning to rise above them. You are not trying to become emotionless. You are learning to become unshakable. You are not trying to escape being human. You are learning how to fully govern yourself as one. Thank you for watching. Stay consistent, stay aware, and keep strengthening your mind, one decision at a time. The very grip you think is saving you is actually what's suffocating your future. We are conditioned from our earliest years to believe that the world belongs to the aggressive, the relentless, and those who refuse to let go of their vision for even a second. Yet this white-knuckle philosophy is precisely why so many high performers find themselves standing atop a mountain of achievement only to feel an overwhelming sense of emptiness and exhaustion. The ancient Stoics understood a secret that modern hustle culture has completely ignored: that your internal power is inversely proportional to your need to control external events. When you stop trying to force the universe to fit your narrow expectations, you stop leaking the vital energy required to actually build a life of substance and meaning. If you are starting to realize that your current approach to success is costing you your peace of mind, now is the perfect time to subscribe to this channel so you can stay aligned with these deep tissue insights that transform your mental architecture from the ground up. The architect's fallacy and the art of release. Most of us live under the architect's fallacy, the belief that if we can just draft a perfect enough blueprint for our lives, the world is somehow obligated to follow it. We obsess over the 5-year plan, the quarterly goal, and the specific way our relationship should look, turning our minds into high-security prisons where we are both the inmate and the warden. Stoicism teaches us that this rigidity is actually a form of fragility. A branch that cannot bend in the wind will eventually snap, while the willow survives by yielding. When you let go of the must-haves and the should-bes, you aren't becoming passive, you are becoming fluid. You are moving from the role of a frantic micromanager of fate to a master navigator who knows that while he cannot control the waves, he can absolutely master the sail. This transition requires a radical level of honesty about what is truly within your power, a realization that is both terrifying and the ultimate form of liberation. By choosing to subscribe to this channel, you are joining a collective of individuals who are trading the noise of the world for the signal of wisdom, ensuring you have a steady stream of high-quality content to guide your personal evolution. The burden of trying to control the uncontrollable is a weight that manifests as chronic anxiety, decision fatigue, and a constant sense of being behind in a race that doesn't actually exist. When you let go of the need to be perceived as successful, you often find the focus required to actually become successful. When you let go of the fear of failure, you suddenly possess the courage to take the very risks that lead to your greatest breakthroughs. Life does not give to the person who demands, it gives to the person who is prepared to receive, and that preparation happens in the silence of a mind that has stopped fighting reality. The dichotomy of control in the modern age. At the heart of this transformation is the dichotomy of control, a concept so simple it is often dismissed, yet so powerful it can dismantle years of psychological suffering in a single afternoon. Epictetus taught that our only true property is our own mind, our opinions, our intentions, and our reactions. Everything else, including our reputation, our wealth, and the health of our bodies, is externals. We spend 99% of our lives focused on that 1% of life we cannot truly govern, which is why we feel so powerless. Imagine the relief of walking into a high-stakes environment, a boardroom, a creative project, or a difficult conversation, and realizing that you are only responsible for the quality of your effort and the integrity of your character. The outcome is none of your business. This doesn't mean you don't care, it means you care so much about your own excellence that you refuse to let a random outcome dictate your worth. This shift in perspective is what separates the amateur from the master. The amateur's mood is a roller coaster tied to the stock market, the likes on a post, or the approval of a peer. The master is a fortress, standing still while the world swirls around him. If you want to build this kind of internal fortress, staying subscribed to this channel is a vital step in your journey, as we consistently break down the mechanics of mental resilience and Stoic fortitude. When you truly embrace the idea that everything arrives on time, you stop rushing through the present to get to a future that may never come. You begin to see that the delays in your life are often just the universe's way of preparing you for the weight of what you asked for. The backwards law and the magnetism of indifference. There is a profound psychological phenomenon known as the backwards law, which suggests that the more we desire a positive experience, the more that desire itself becomes a negative experience. The pursuit of happiness makes you realize you are unhappy, the pursuit of wealth makes you feel poor. Stoicism solves this by practicing a form of calculated indifference. This is not the indifference of the lazy, but the indifference of the empowered. When you are no longer desperate for a specific result, you lose that sense of neediness that often drives opportunities away. A creator who produces for the sake of excellence rather than for the sake of fame eventually finds fame precisely because their work is untainted by the desperation for approval. By letting go of the outcome, you allow your natural talents to operate at their highest level, free from the interference of performance anxiety. This is where flow comes from, the moment the ego steps aside and lets the skill take over. We are dedicated to helping you reach this state of effortless power, so ensure you are subscribed to receive more content that bridges the gap between ancient philosophy and modern performance. When you let go of the tight grip you have on your identity and your story, you allow life to write a much bigger narrative for you than you could have ever imagined. The more space you create by letting go of old resentments, outdated goals, and the need to be right, the more room life has to fill with unexpected gifts and powerful lessons. Conclusion: the architecture of a new life. As we close this first deep dive into the power of release, I want you to consider one thing: what could you achieve today if you weren't afraid of what might happen tomorrow? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but that step is only possible if you aren't carrying the weight of the entire world on your shoulders. You have the power to put the bags down right now. You have the permission to stop fighting a war that was over long ago. We are here to support that transition, and we are honored to have you as part of this community. If this message has started to clear the fog for you, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who is currently struggling with the burden of control. Your engagement helps us reach more people who are looking for a way to turn their exhaustion into strength. Most importantly, make sure you are subscribed and have your notifications turned on, as we have much more to explore in the coming parts of this series. The lessons of Stoicism are not just to be heard, they are to be lived, and we are committed to being your partner in that process. Stay focused on what you can control, let go of the rest, and watch as life begins to give you everything you were once trying to take. Expanding into the second phase of this journey, we move beyond the initial realization of control and begin the deep work of restructuring how we process the world's constant demands on our attention. If part 1 was about recognizing the weight of the bags you are carrying, part 2 is about the surgical precision required to unpack them and leave the unnecessary contents behind forever. We often find that our greatest source of suffering is not the events themselves, but the stories we tell ourselves about those events, creating a secondary layer of pain that is entirely self-inflicted. By mastering the art of narrative release, you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start becoming the conscious author of your internal experience. If you are finding that this deeper level of analysis is providing you with the tools you need to reclaim your mental clarity, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel now so you can continue to grow with us as we peel back the layers of these ancient psychological strategies. The alchemical power of amor fati. One of the most profound tools in the Stoic arsenal is the concept of amor fati, or the love of fate, which takes the idea of letting go and elevates it to a level of active, joyful acceptance. Most people, when faced with a setback, a failed business venture, a broken relationship, or a missed opportunity, spend weeks or months asking, "Why did this happen to me?" This question is a trap because it assumes that the universe owes you an explanation or that the event was a mistake in the cosmic order. Stoicism suggests that the event wasn't a mistake, it was a requirement for your evolution. When you practice amor fati, you don't just tolerate the obstacles in your path, you love them because you realize they are the very fuel your character needs to burn brightly. Imagine a fire that consumes everything thrown into it. The more debris you toss onto the flames, the higher and hotter the fire grows. This is how you must treat the bad luck in your life. By letting go of the desire for a smooth path, you develop the ruggedness to thrive on any terrain. This mental shift turns every no into a not this way, and every failure into a necessary data point for your eventual success. As we explore these more advanced techniques for emotional resilience, remember that being a subscriber to this channel ensures you stay updated on all our deep dive content designed to help you turn life's lead into gold. Letting go of the ghost of reputation. In our modern, hyper-connected world, we are constantly haunted by the ghost of our own reputation, obsessing over how we are perceived by people we don't even like. We curate our lives, our businesses, and our words to fit a mold that we think the world wants, and in doing so, we let go of our most powerful asset, our authenticity. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius noted that it is absurd how much we love ourselves more than others, yet value the opinions of others more than our own. When you let go of the need for external validation, you experience a surge of creative and professional energy that was previously being throttled by the fear of judgment. True high-value status is not something you obtain by pleasing the crowd, it is something you embody by being so grounded in your own principles that the crowd's applause or boos become irrelevant background noise. This level of detachment is particularly vital for those building something of their own, whether it's a brand, a career, or a family, because it allows you to make decisions based on long-term integrity rather than short-term approval. If this perspective on social freedom resonates with you, hitting the subscribe button is the best way to ensure you keep receiving these reminders to stay true to your internal compass. The mirror of relationships and the release of change. We often carry a tremendous amount of stress because we are trying to fix or change the people around us, believing that if they would just act differently, we would finally be happy. This is one of the most difficult things to let go of because it involves people we care about. But the Stoic truth is that you cannot control another person's character or choices any more than you can control the weather. Letting go of the responsibility for other people's behavior is an act of profound kindness, both to them and to yourself. It allows you to see them as they truly are, rather than as projects to be completed. When you stop trying to manage the people in your life, you often find that the relationships either naturally improve because the pressure is gone, or they naturally fade away to make room for more aligned connections. This relationship release is a recurring theme in our content, and by staying subscribed, you'll gain access to our upcoming series on how to apply Stoic boundaries without losing your empathy or your heart. Memento Mori, the ultimate clarifier. Nothing helps you let go of the trivialities of life faster than the remembrance of your own mortality, a practice known as memento mori. We hold on to petty grievances, small anxieties, and minor embarrassments as if they are permanent scars, but when viewed against the backdrop of eternity, these things vanish like mist. By keeping the reality of death close at hand, you aren't being morbid, you are being incredibly efficient. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter, and you stop letting fear dictate your choices. If you knew your time was limited, would you really care about that snide comment from a colleague or the fact that your latest project didn't get the immediate recognition you wanted? Probably not. You would focus on the work, the people you love, and the quality of your own soul. This clarity is the ultimate power-up for your life, stripping away the non-essential and leaving only what is true. We are constantly producing high-quality videos that delve into these heavy but transformative topics, so make sure you are a subscriber so you never miss a chance to sharpen your perspective on what it means to live a good life. There is a strange law of physics in the spiritual world: your hands must be empty to catch what is falling from the sky. If you are clutching onto the past, onto old identities, or onto your current level of success with a death grip, you have no capacity to receive the next level of abundance that life is trying to hand you. This is why many people hit a ceiling in their personal or professional growth. They are unwilling to let go of the very things that got them to where they are now in order to reach where they want to be. Expansion requires a period of learning and clinging. You must be willing to be a beginner again, to look foolish, and to let go of the safety of the known. This is where the real life lessons are hidden, in the space between what you were and what you are becoming. We provide the roadmap for this transition in every single video we post, so subscribing to the channel is your commitment to never stop evolving. As we wrap up this second part of our exploration into the power of letting go, I want you to take a deep breath and identify one single thing you are currently overthinking. Whether it's a business decision, a social interaction, or a personal doubt, I want you to mentally place it in a box and let it float away. You have done the work, you have set the intention, and now, your only job is to trust the process. The more you practice this micro-release throughout your day, the more you will notice a sense of lightness and power returning to your step. We are so glad you are here with us on this journey of mastery. If this expanded look into Part 2 gave you a new tool for your mental toolkit, please give the video a like and share your most important takeaway in the comments section below. Your insights often help other members of our community see things from a different angle. Don't forget to check out our other videos for more Stoic motivation, and most importantly, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We have a massive Part 3 coming up that ties all of this together into a daily practice you can use to change your life forever. Stay disciplined, stay calm, and remember, life gives the most to those who need it the least. In this final and most transformative phase of our journey, we move beyond the theory of detachment and into the actual construction of what the ancient Stoics called the inner citadel, an impenetrable fortress of the soul where no external event, no matter how catastrophic, can breach your core peace. This is the stage where you stop merely trying to let go and you begin to embody a state of existence where letting go is as natural and automatic as breathing, allowing you to operate with a level of clarity and speed that others will mistake for a superpower. If you have followed us through parts 1 and 2, you are already beginning to feel the heavy chains of social expectation and personal anxiety starting to rust and snap, and by subscribing to this channel right now, you are making a final, decisive commitment to never allow those chains to be forged around your mind again. The architecture of the inner citadel. Building the inner citadel is the ultimate act of self-mastery because it requires you to let go of the most dangerous attachment of all, your attachment to your own comfort and the fragile idea of safety. We often think that peace is found by changing our surroundings, moving to a new city, or finding a better job, but the Stoic knows that if the mind is in turmoil, it will carry that turmoil into a palace just as easily as it does into a prison cell. To build your citadel, you must practice what is known as objective representation, which is the disciplined art of stripping away all the emotional labels we habitually slap onto every event that occurs. When a project fails, a Stoic does not say, "This is a disaster that will ruin my career." They simply say, "The project did not meet its metrics, and I now have more information for the next attempt." By removing the disaster label, you let go of the emotional weight that causes paralysis, leaving only the objective facts which are much easier to handle. We provide the blueprints for this mental architecture every week, so ensuring you are a subscriber is the most effective way to keep your citadel walls strong against the unpredictable storms of the modern world. As you become more proficient in this practice, you will discover the concept of ataraxia, a state of robust tranquility that is entirely independent of the chaos of the world. This is not a state of being checked out or lazy. Rather, it is the state of a professional athlete in the zone or a surgeon in the middle of a complex operation, focused, calm, and completely unbothered by the noise in the room. When you let go of the internal chatter of good and bad, you find that your actions become much more efficient because they are no longer filtered through a lens of fear or ego. This is the high-quality life that is available to anyone willing to do the internal work, and by staying connected to our content, you are giving yourself the best possible chance to master these psychological shifts and reclaim your time and energy. The paradox of sympathia and universal flow. To truly let go on the highest level, you must eventually let go of the narrow, isolated idea of the self and embrace the Stoic concept of sympathia, the realization that we are all part of a vast, interconnected system that is constantly moving toward a specific purpose. When you understand that you are a cell in a larger cosmic body, you stop taking every loss so personally and start seeing it as a necessary adjustment in the grand design. This shift is the ultimate antidote to the me against the world mentality that fuels so much of our modern suffering and burnout. By letting go of the need to be the center of the universe, you paradoxically gain more influence over your immediate environment because you are no longer fighting the natural flow of things, you are moving with it. Think of a river. The person who tries to swim upstream eventually tires and drowns, but the person who understands the current can use the river's own power to reach their destination with a fraction of the effort. This is what it means to live in accordance with nature, where your personal will is aligned with the way things actually are, rather than the way you wish they were. If this deeper level of philosophical alignment is what you've been searching for, please hit the subscribe button to join our growing community of thinkers who are dedicated to rising above the trivial and focusing on the eternal truths of human existence. The practice of premeditatio malorum. The final tool in our arsenal of release is the practice of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, where we deliberately visualize the loss of the things we hold most dear. While this may sound dark to the uninitiated, it is actually the most life-affirming practice you can perform because it allows you to let go of the fear of loss before the loss even occurs. When you have mentally rehearsed the loss of your wealth, your status, or even your health, those things no longer have power over you. You can enjoy them fully while you have them, but you are not a slave to them, and if they are taken away, you remain standing, unbroken and unshaken. This is the final secret to the unshakable mind, the realization that your happiness is not a delicate flower that can be crushed by a change in the weather, but a sturdy oak that has survived 1,000 winters. We are committed to helping you develop this level of mental toughness, and every video we produce is a brick in the wall of your own resilience. As we conclude this massive 3-part journey into the art of letting go, we want you to realize that you are now part of a rare group of people who are no longer willing to be victims of fate. You are now a practitioner of the highest art, a student of the greatest teachers, and a master of your own internal domain. Joining the unshakable mind. Everything you have learned today boils down to a single, powerful truth: the less you need, the more you have, and the more you let go, the more the world naturally gravitates toward you. We are incredibly honored that you have chosen to walk this path with us through all 3 parts of this series. If these lessons have ignited a fire of resilience within you, please give this video a like and share it with those in your life who are currently struggling under the weight of their own expectations. Your comments and engagement are what allow us to keep creating this high-level, life-changing content, so please tell us how you plan to practice letting go in your own life this week. This is more than just a video. It is the beginning of a transformation that will touch every aspect of your existence, from your bank account to your relationships to the very quality of your sleep. To continue this journey and to ensure you are always equipped with the mental tools needed to face any challenge with grace and strength, we invite you to take the final step and join our community. Subscribe, watch, and join my channel, Unshaken Mind, where we turn ancient wisdom into modern power and help you build a life that is as legendary as it is peaceful. Thank you for watching. Stay focused, and we will see you inside the Unshaken Mind.